taste indeed. And this century, bittersweet, golden brew, surely nectar of forbidden fruit. Seeds spit into the earth, reap the harvest we're accustomed to. Unseen viper sows our earthly plights, constricting fiend. What a dour fate received, Rend eventually. Blistered feet, swollen bruised, purely vector of war-ridden roots. Deeds an affront to our birth, weep discarnate tears we must attune. Spiraling staircase crumbles and cracks, gravity asserts, tumble forward into blackness. Strike the cold earth or a mattress, knee-jerk electrical synapses, triggering collateral damage. Jealousy, mistrust, displace that fleeting feeling with eons of injustice. Hoist that stone up high for our scions to rehearse it. Defiant to all but the presiders of blood burst, turning into praise, subservience into remorse. Dispassion, ignorance, dead. For what purpose? To what end? Abhorrence, detraction, petulance beset. How can we awaken from a terror we invent? Divorce, fracture, arrogance condemned. What happened to the breath of life once in my chest? War, famine, pestilence, death. A dream of warning if I had oxygen left. But this life will spread the fire that consumed all. As we gaze impertinent, tons of serpents turn tragedy to sideshows. Inescapable pockmarks, hallmarks of flame, like landmarks erected by monarchs and those of rapacity. What a eyesore. Gawk until you learn to turn a blind eye as designed. So is this something that you'd ever ask yourself? Is it pride or the blind leading the blind and biting our hands? The weaponry fighting wars of our fathers, atonement for sins of our fathers. Handle stretching the fathers, hollow to hollow. Depends on the type of bombardment was carried into tomorrow. Libraries of lessons, and that's what's important. Apathy, despondency. I thought it's smarter. Who don't get me started on these fallacies? They're so obvious the blind can see, and it feels like all we've been doing is rubbing mud and spit into our eyes since the dawn of time without help of the divine. Sun-dried out of tears to cry, so run the river dry with your remorse. Dispassion, ignorance, death. For what purpose? To what end? Abhorrence, detraction, petulance beset. How can we awaken from a terror we invent? Divorce, pressure, arrogance condemned. What happened to the breath of life once in my chest? War, famine, pestilence, death. I dream of warning if I had oxygen left. But I don't, it's been sold to the highest bidder. You know the MO, we sell to a bitter people, stranglehold upon control. Plenty biting of the hand that feeds and conditioning. Years of abusive dependence paid the piper to Stockholm. Endless sprawl, blotting light to those who can't afford to rise above. Lavish lifestyles govern those residing down below. How these ivory towers menace some sick joke, hanging us to shed our skin and glowings made of blood and sweat of our kinfolk. Just to rule as those before, access oblivion, right to stay clean. Humble beginnings, delusion again. It's human nature, oh Lord, how obscene. Foundations of your heart they can create. Take a look at what's been achieved. Impervious fortress to never be reached. Meant to protect you, guess corruption and greed. Money's the sword that strikes the hearts, and law's the shield that guards the sharks who bite and feast and drink from veins of the financially enslaved. Monoliths built on open ground.